What is this article actually? As you know, the main book of Kabbalah is the Book of Zohar. There's never been any book like it, and there never will be. It is truly a unique book in its depth and in the way that it includes the entire creation and explains it. There's no other book like it. But the problem is, as we know, that humanity develops in its desire to receive. From a small desire to receive that existed in previous generations to greater and greater desires to receive, as today. And so, in every period, there are Kabbalists that bring us the wisdom of Kabbalah in a different way, different manner through different interpretation. And the first man, Adam Arishon, wrote the book Raziel the Angel, or our forefather Abraham wrote the book of creation, Sefer Yetzira. These books are written in a way that is completely not understandable for us. The Book of Zohar is a little more understandable. It was, after all, written in the 2nd century and is closer to us. Yet, in our time, it is impossible to learn from a book that is entirely midrash or stories, except for a few parts of it, which are idra, meaning that it's impossible to study it, rabba, a lot, idra zuta, and all the other parts are midrash stories. A person who opens the book cannot understand what happens beyond the level of the stories, and indeed, the Book of Zohar explains for us the entire structure of creation, the whole system, as well as the upper providence, and how it works on us, and how we can affect the higher providence so that we will get a positive response. But when we open the book, we don't see this. And that's why Baal HaSulam worked so hard to write the Sulam, the ladder, interpretation of the Book of Zohar, meaning radiance. In it he explains what the Book of Zohar talks about in a way that is closer to our way of comprehending. In order to help us understand his Sulam interpretation, he also wrote introductions. These are the introduction to the Book of Zohar, and later on, preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, and preface to the Book of Zohar, and the preface to the Sulam interpretation. 4 introductions in all, without which it's impossible to understand his Sulam interpretations. That's because even that interpretation is still very special. And although it's written in a modern way, lights, vessels, screens, numbers, forces, still, this scientific method cannot open for us the depth of the wisdom. And that's because even after reading and studying the formulas in the book, we still have difficulty in sensing, seeing the spiritual world. And therefore, in order to give us the right outlook, the right angle of vision on the Sulam interpretation, Baal HaSulam wrote the introductions to his interpretation. The most important one is the opening, that's how it's called, opening to the wisdom of Kabbalah. And the opening to the wisdom of Kabbalah also has a short introduction, which we will study today. Actually, each introduction is an independent structure in itself, seemingly unrelated to anything else. But together, all of these introductions give a person such an overview and a relationship to the commentary on the Zohar that a person can penetrate through the commentary into the book and begin to see what's going on. It's like those images, you know, they look like wallpaper patterns. But once you get close to it, you really look at it, you suddenly see that there's a depth to it. You know, it's called the third dimension. You know those kinds of images. So let's say it's three-dimensional, but this is only on the condition that we look at it in a unique way, by using our focus and our vision in a unique way into a single point, and then the image opens up and we see what's happening inside. So it's the same thing. It's that we need to acquire, the right angle of vision. And through these introductions, that's what we gain. And only after will we have the possibility to open the Zohar in the correct way, and then it will indeed open up. So let's start from the introduction to the opening to the wisdom of Kabbalah. It is specifically written that all the upper and lower worlds are all included in man. This is very important. It's actually the main thing that he's trying to say in this introduction, and we definitely should hold on to this view and not let go of it. Meaning all the worlds, the upper as well as the lower, including our world, are inside of us. That's because we overall perceive everything, all parts of reality according to our properties. The upper light is around us. There are no changes in it, no shades. But according to how we change our properties, that's what determines how we sense changes. And it seems to us that the world is full of people and objects and forces, and that everything happens, behaves, evolves, changes. But in actuality, this is not true. In truth, if we could see ourselves as if looking from the side, like seeing as though we had different properties, we would see that there actually is nothing there, that each of us is a black box, a closed system that can only feel what occurs inside of it, not outside. We are impressed by our inner properties, and our inner properties divide into the upper world and the lower world. The upper world is called our altruistic properties, if we can acquire them and feel them within ourselves. The lower world, our world, is, if we feel ourselves as we now feel, we can call this our egoistic properties, in our desire to enjoy and to receive. And therefore, there is nothing outside of us as we imagine, that there are worlds, and that there's such a world that seems to be outside of us, and it's not true, it's an illusion. And so it is with everything else that we imagine. Everything is actually a product of our imagination. We, as scientists have proven, see with our eyes an inverted image, which is then reinterpreted by our brain. It's the same with our inverted vision that causes us to see everything outside of us, while actually it's inside of us. It's just my impression that makes me think that the world is outside of me. And that's what Baal HaSulam emphasizes. He emphasizes it a lot, and he explains it in several places. In spite of this, we still have to make efforts to understand it and to think about it. That there's just one outcome of this, that all of the worlds, outside, inside, no matter where or how we imagine them, change according to our properties. That's it. That's what we need to know, or at least that's what we need to remember. It is specifically written that all of the upper and lower worlds are included in man, and as well that the entire reality of those worlds exists only for man, meaning that it's actually part of our structure. Is it not enough for man to have this world and all that's in it for him to use for his benefit? That he would need all of the upper worlds as well with all that's in them, since they have only been created for his needs? Meaning, what do we need all these things for? I understand there is me. As well, they say that there is an upper power, a creator. So I have to somehow deal with him. That's my life. That's reality. But what do I need all the worlds for? They have so many things in them, good and bad. All sorts of good forces, evil forces, angels, I don't know. Maybe many things, inanimate, vegetative, living, speaking. Whatever there is in our world also exists in every other world, only in different forms, different dimensions. What do I need it for? I hardly need the earth. How can I include all of this? The solar system, galaxies, infinite distances, infinite amount of rock. Who needs all that? What was all this created for? And they say it was created only for us. They say it's created for us and that we need every gram of something that's in the substance of reality. How can all of this be tied to us? How can it be understood that all these things are tied into our soul? It's a picture which is completely not understandable. But anyway, it's written that it's so. And indeed, a person who starts to open his or her soul and see what he or she has to attain, sees that these worlds must really enter the soul. What the person may feel eventually is that the entire reality, all the worlds, are really inside of him or her, and he or she controls them, rules over them, swallows, and directs them. Are there any questions? Were the worlds created outside of man? And if so, why is it said that they're included inside of man? There's a thing and its opposite, an inner contradiction. And we will study it in the opening to the wisdom of Kabbalah. The entire reality is called desire to receive. And this desire to receive has two parts, an inner part and an outer part, from which the worlds were created, an inner part from which the souls were created. Overall, they act in reality together in such a way that the souls actually rule the worlds. That's why it's written that the worlds are included in the souls. That's it. I don't think I can explain more than that right now, but we will talk about it later. I understand this contradiction, that on one hand, the souls are included in, the worlds are included in the soul, and on the other hand, it's as if it was created by myself. But we'll learn about it. I agree that for now it's a contradiction, yes. If everything's included in me, then who are all the people around me? When I talk about man and an upper power, man means a collection of all the souls, which is actually the first man, Adam Harishon. In our root, there is one single soul that was created by an upper power, and it was created opposite to the Creator. Later on, as you've probably heard, it was divided into many individual parts, and each individual part has to perform its own correction so as to become included back with all of the other parts. So that's where we begin again to be one soul opposite a single Creator. When all the souls gather together, to the extent that they connect to each other, the worlds disappear. Because Aulam, world, is derived from He'elem, Hester, concealment, meaning that there are between me and the Creator some kind of filters that are called the worlds. And to the extent that I connect with other souls, I elevate above the worlds. And I attain a state in which I am above them, meaning that they really enter me. These things aren't easy. But gradually we get used to them, and later we see that through this outlook we're able to solve many problems. Strange occurrences, events, relationships, and connections of things that are all contradicting each other in our world. It is a wonder how this philosophy seems so remote from our reality, when being drawn into our reality helps us understand what happens in this world, because we don't understand this world either. And the fact that during thousands of years, scientists and philosophers haven't grasped our world is because they don't relate correctly to this world, meaning not through the wisdom of Kabbalah. Who are the other people? Are they other souls? Now I sense myself and the world around me, which is full of people. There will come a time when beside this world I will also sense and see other worlds. Let's say that some additional sense will open up for me. Later, I'll begin to improve my perception. And if I improve it, I start to see all individual souls, all people that seem to exist around me. I feel them as existing inside of me, as being part of me, part of my desire. And those worlds that I see as external to me, acting outside of me, I begin to see as part of my structure, and I actually control them. That's how it all opens up into a world of spiritual vision. It's hard for us to explain that now, but very gradually we can develop this by learning an additional sense of vision. We can take this additional sense and expand the range of our vision, and we can see these things. And then it won't be such a wonder. But now, when we still have no sensation and perception of it, it's very hard to imagine this. Letter Bet. And indeed, in order to explain this issue in its entirety, I would have had to bring forth here before us the entire wisdom of Kabbalah, but usually to the extent necessary to understand the preface of these issues in the book. Meaning, he's not going to swallow it all immediately, only small abbreviated portions. And the essence is that the intention of God, blessed be He, in creating was to benefit His created beings, as we know, meaning that there is in Him a desire to bestow, and out of the desire to bestow, He needs someone to receive the bestowal. In us it's expressed in the opposite way, just as I want to enjoy, to receive, to be filled, to fill myself. So does the upper power have exactly the opposite desire, to give, to bestow, to fill me. It is certain that when the thought arose to create the souls and bestow all goodness upon them, immediately they were drawn, emerged, and stood before Him in all their completeness and stature, in the totality of the pleasures that He meant for them to enjoy. Since in Him, blessed be He, the thought alone completes the action, and he does not need an instrument for the action as we do. Meaning that for now, we need to accept the assumption that the upper power, called the Creator, the Bestower, creates something called desire to enjoy, desire to receive, in the exact form and amount that he wants to fill it. Meaning that the Creator creates the desire to receive in the exact measure to receive the pleasure in the quantity and quality that he wishes to give. Call it soul, malchut, vessel, it doesn't matter what we call it, what words we use. But we need to understand that it is a perfect match to the Creator's desire both in quality and in quantity. We learn that the Creator emanates light, or, yes, and again, the Creator is called Bechina Shorsh, or the root discernment or phase, and then he creates a vessel, which is called Bechina Aleph. When the light fills this vessel, the vessel discovers a quality of the root Shorsh. Then this vessel wants to become similar to Bechina Shorsh, and that's already considered to be Bechina Bet. If Bechina Bet, here Bechina Shorsh is the desire to receive, then just here is a desire to bestow in Bechina Bet. And emerging from Bechina Bet is Bechina Gimel. What does that mean? After Bechina Bet wants to be similar to the Shorsh, to equate with Shorsh, this is Shorsh, right? How can it equate? It simply receives in order to bestow, right? This is Bechina Gimel. It is a desire to receive in order to bestow. And from here, acting in just this way, it actually results in reaching Shorsh. But when it senses how good it is to be in Bechina Shorsh, a new desire develops in it, a desire to enjoy the stature of Shorsh, which is called Bechina Dalet. A desire to receive that doesn't come from the Creator, but from the created being. The created being discovers how good it is to be in the degree of the Creator, and it wants this stature for itself. And that's why Bechina Dalet is called vessel. Actually, this vessel revealed its desire to receive that doesn't come from above. From above, desire to receive only arrives in Bechina Aleph. Bechina Bet is a desire to bestow, Bechina Gimel is the act of bestowal, and Bechina Dalet is the desire to be at the stature of the Creator. That's why this desire doesn't come from above, and therefore it's called the created being. And this created being, as soon as it reaches this desire, is filled with pleasure entirely. And this state is called the world of infinity. That's what he's saying. As soon as the Creator thought, felt what he wanted to give joy to the created beings, he immediately created a being in a state filled with all the pleasures, filled entirely.
Thank you.